Hey guys, this is TJ with Song Vibe Studios. Uh, I've been putting out some videos now, and I just thought I would do a little analyzing and see what guys are getting into. What is it that they enjoy watching? Of course, it's the shorts, 15 seconds. But of all the videos combined, the long ones and the short, I did a little research, and here is the topic of the most important ones that I find. Um, for me personally, I did a short one. It was 3 or 4 minute long, I think, on pedal boards, my pedal steel guitar with hand benders, palm benders, the LA2A pedal unboxing, which I still don't get that. Unboxing my Golden Age uh, Pre 73 mic pre with the Revive audio. Sorry. And then I had two videos on adding rack ears underneath your console, and I'll show you a little bit of that in a second. Also, I've got a tube compressor, stereo tube compressor, which is a good idea if you can find this particular model. Pretty cheap. And I just got through putting in some new 12AX7s tubes in it. And it is a true tube, it's not just a starved plate. The also popular, that's kind of what you're getting at. A lot of guys interested in pedals, any kind, for any reason, and that's cool. But so I wanted to get your opinion, and I'd love for you to comment and just say, here's my top 5 pedals that I like. It's whether it's a drive or distortion or crunch, tone, multi-effects. I'm curious to know what you like. Just make a comment below. Just give me the brands or tell me the first pedal you ever bought. Don't know how old you are, but I'll take you back in time to an earlier time. I started playing guitar in the mid 70s, late 70s. And at the time you could get the Marley Big Muff. I think you could get an Ibanez, the green monster Ibanez. You could pick up, they had these cheesy yellow and orange plastic wah-wah pedals, lasted about a week. You had to voice the talk box, when made famous by Peter Frampton. So there were some pedals, no one was really focusing. And then it moved into the 80s and then started, I bought me a little 6-unit rack and I had the Fender head for I think it was a Fender. I played a Fender Bandit for a long time in the clubs, but then went with just the Fender M80, I think it was, and it had a rack with extra spaces. So I bought like a Ross digital delay pedal, and back then digital delay meant it cost a lot, and delay meant you could make monthly payments. So it was a digital delay, but I filled that up with some stuff that you just had to have at the time, rack mount units. And then by the late 80s, I was kind of burnt out on that. But by then I also had a pedal board with Boss pedals all over it. Plus the M80 I was still carrying around. And I just scrapped it all. I bought a Rocket ADA. I think it's a 10 amp or 20 amp and tube amp, true tube, class A. And I got rid of everything. I played through that with nothing else. No reverb, no delays, nothing. Then I moved back around and got back into some pedals. And then about 2 years ago, I got an invitation to put a band together and be the house band at a country bar. Yeah. So I did. And then I got back into pedals again, and I bought like 5 Behringer pedals, delay, reverb, compression, little chorus, just to have them. So I kind of get my country tone on. Played a Fender Tele and a Strat. And from there I thought, well, that was kind of fun, but I'm seeing a bunch of these Chinese pedals on Amazon. They're only $19. So yeah, I bought into that. So started buying those, and I retired these Behringer pedals. I put them on a small board for my wife. She plays. And then really bought way too many pedals. I think I had like 30 and started selling those off. But if you want, I'll show you those. We'll spend some time looking at pedals. But I really want to know what your experience was. When did you start playing? What was your first pedal? What pedal are you using now? Approximate how many pedals you've gone through, and if you've had experience with the Chinese pedals. My experience with the Chinese pedals, as cool as some of them are, is some are really dirty. They're fine playing live, but you patch into them and try to plug them in to play and record with, it's just not pretty. So I had to get rid of some of them just for that matter. They're great live and just don't work in the studio. So I'd like to know your history on that. Kind of like to know who my audience is and what you guys are excited about. And we'll do a little quick tour if you want, just to show you what I got. So, I'm not trying to compete with great real studio, called real studios. I'm not doing it for money. Like the Recording Loser or Colt Caparoon or Andrew Masters, Barry Johns, Rick Beato, Eric Valentine, Mark Daniel Nelson. Those guys are way above my pay grade. I'm just here to record my songs in my studio the best I can. And I've fallen in love with producing and mixing and even trying to create a little mastering thing. Just because from day one, when I was 18, I thought, why should I pay someone to go in their studio? I'll just buy the little 4-track and I'll do it myself. So it's always been, to me, I invest in the money once, I've got the gear forever until I see something better and I want to buy it. So yeah, if you want to, drop me a line. Just tell me, say, man, I've been playing for 100 years and I play a bad cat, whatever. So yeah, I bought the expensive pedals and I bought the cheap ones, and yeah, there's a difference. It all depends also, what you're dialing in. I've gone through the pod, the little red looked like a bean. I had that. I've had the Roland. Well, in fact, I've got this Roland right here that I use when I'm recording. So yeah, I'm not opposed to it at all. So let's get a closer look. I'll just kind of give you the rundown here. In the studio, there's a spin. There we go. So I'll start here. Really, I've got my I got my patch bay down here. So patch bay here, XLR patch bay here. Of course, this one's going to tie right up to here. So I got my pre 73 here, and then it comes up right here. I've got my 610 back here, and it's right here down on this one. I'm just using it as a through. So it's here. So I can plug any mic I want into the 610, and it goes up to the 610, comes back, and it's right here. Then I'll pull that, and then I can go into the DBX. I can go into the Black Lion. And typically I'm going to go to the Black Lion, but I also now have this. I've got it patched in. Where's it at? Right here. I've got it patched in over here. And like the last vocals I did, I ran through here with one setting, and then I ran through here just to kind of knock off, smooth it out just a little bit, not too crazy, just kind of keep it pulled in. Or I can go, and I did the Revive Audio here, and then my pre-73, I've got the Revive mod on it. This over here, this Auteur, is great just to have a couple extras. I did have the FMR really nice preamps, and I sold those because I got such a great deal on them that I sold them and doubled my money. So, then I was able to buy this and have a couple $100 left. So it's a good deal. The DBX, I'm kind of thinking maybe I'll send this off to Revive and have them do this, but I don't think so. So the Behringer, I just needed some gates. This has some decent gates. So my wife has a grand piano out in the living room, and we'll mic that up with 5 or 6 mics. And I didn't have enough gates, so now I do. But I've dedicated 2 channels of this, 3 and 4, to compress my Roland drums kit. And it's over here, right over there. And I'll play like a minute of a drum kit. I'll put it on my loop pedal, and then I'll just sit here and keep tweaking, running the loop through this, and I'll compress left and right channels until I get the feel that I want, the presence. And then it comes out down here. Right there's a Roland. There it is. And I'll come out of here. It's already compressed. I always do that. Even if it's, even if it's electronic kit, I'm still going to compress it. And then I'll go in here, and this is the Behringer Tube Virtualizer. And this has got some cool, it's called guitar cab. So if you've got one of these, dial through and go down to guitar cabs. It's right here, distortion amp. And you've got like 7 guitar cabinet simulations. Run them through them, and you'll notice that it gives a really neat ambience to the drum kit that you can't get from a compressor. It's not really compressing. You get like 7 different tones. And I'll play around until I hear the tone I like. It may be cabinet 3 on one song, maybe cabinet 7. And run through that. And here's my Universal Audio Solo 610. I think I paid $600 used for this. And I think they're going for 12. So I got a good deal on that. I just got the Auto-Tune Antares, and I've got it patched in down here, right there. So from there, that's my tracking side. And yeah, I've gone through a lot of different gear. Let me see if I can kind of spin this and tilt down a little bit. There we go. So yeah, I go through, that's my tracking side, and I've gone through some preamps. I hear something different. And I really like to think that I can take a piece of junk gear and make, an incredible recording. I'm starting to find out I can't. So I got to be honest, I've got like over here on this is where I keep some of my pedals. So you can see pedals here that I got back in here. But over here, I've got this MP105, and this is a cool little pedal. And it does warm up your tone, and you can get some harmonic distortion if you drive it hard enough. And I've got a different tube in it, but I haven't had need for it. I wouldn't hesitate using it if I needed one more preamp. But I don't need a preamp now because I just got this bad boy. Let me get you up on this. I'm sure if you keep up with it, you probably see these. But it's the Tascam 2400. And there is a compressor on every channel up here. Okay. And I know you can't set anything like attack and release and anything like that. But it's great if you have an acoustic, or like my wife's grand piano. I can set a little bit of compression on anything I want. And it's a nice, pleasing little compressor. It's, you can't crush anything, but sometimes you don't want to crush everything. But it's got that. It also has 16 preamps. My Tascam 24 SD only had 8. Now I can just plug in and leave them plugged in all the time. I can leave them plugged in all the time. So like right here, this is my stereo in for my drum machine. So drums will always be 13, 14. I'll just keep it on stereo. And I'll probably always put bass on 12. That's what I was doing on my other unit. So from there, it can spread out and do whatever. But I'm excited about that. I've got 3 auxiliaries already dedicated to the first 3 channels of the headphone amp, so that if I want to, I can give guys a separate mix on everything. They get a custom mix. But it also has that More Me feature, so that basically it's this. Your auxiliary is on this side, your main will be here. If you've got a separate line running out, then you can turn it here. You'll get more of your bass or your guitar, your vocal turn it the other way, and you'll get more of the mix. So that's where your balance comes in. And from there, I use the two more virtualizers. Let me set this down. So I use two more virtualizers for, this one's for reverb, and that's it. Just reverb. And it's beautiful reverb. And it's good. I mean, I did like 3 or 4, if you'll type it in Google. Name the top 5 or the top 10 best reverb units. Of course, you're going to get Brataski and Lexicon, PCM 90 or 70, 93, whatever. You're going to get the Yamaha SPX 900, 2000. And then it says Behringer. I'm like, what? So every website I went to where I asked for the top 5 or top 10, they kept saying this. I got it, and it's really nice. It's a nice reverb. Plus, the thing I like about it, you can put it on your bus mix bus, and you can dial out any frequencies under 400 that you don't want to have reverb, which is great because who wants reverb on your drum, kick, and your bass? So it takes that out, gets rid of a lot of that rumble, but it's got all kinds of useful things. If you can't afford more expensive gear, you can get that, and it's got, an internal graphic and parametric EQ. You can tweak your sound with it. Just like 180 sounds. It just goes on and on. Presets, user presets. It's got the ones that are internal you can't do anything about, but you can dial in here and change all your parameters. So really impressed with it. I went through that old Behringer stuff back in the 2000s, like the Euro Desk, Euro Play, whatever it's called. They were just pieces of junk. Got a brand new one, and like 2 of the channels quit working immediately. So, but they've really done a lot, and I have no complaints about it. I had the Lexicon MX200. I bought it for like $80 used, and but still, you didn't have a gate to dial out the reverb. Everything got reverb. But you got delays, you got everything you want. This one up here, I was using to add things like a little stereo spreading, or maybe a little enhancement, a little exciter. It's got hundreds of things you can use it for. It's got a setting that sounds like a radio, gramophone radio or a needle going around, and you can start with that. And as your song starts playing, you can dial it out or just hit bypass, and your song starts, and it doesn't have that effect on it. So it's really cool. This is the HH6 Radius 30 tube compressor, and it stays right there in the middle of the circuit. It's not tagged on the end, and it's barely working. So that's the one I put the new things in. Now Revive Audio will do a upgrade, a hot rod on this. They want like $500. I only paid $200 for it, so I'm not going to do that. But I did put in new tubes. I'm ready to see what that sounds like. And then my newest addition is the Vitalizer MK3T. I splurged. I rarely buy new, but I did in this case. And this has been great. And so you see my stereo spread, if you can tell from there. I've got it on 2. I mean, you start doing too much to it and it does weird things. So I'm pretty conservative with that. I'm pretty well staying 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Same thing on the mid-high tuning process. Bass comp, I'm backed off to about 2. And everything's detinted. So it's just cool. And then the bass sound, I like it to the left of 12 o'clock, about 10 o'clock. It gives me what I'm looking for. But if you crank this way, it will pull all your bass out. It's phenomenal. You can make it punchy if you got a little fat on it. On drive, I try to keep it right about 0. It's just great. And then you've got a bypass button over here. That's cool. Then I got this Denon to burn to SD card, so I can take it then, upload it on my computer, blast it out to whoever. I did come from the CD actually I came from the cassette world back in the day, and I'm just used to CDs. I still get in the car and check them out there, I miss CDs. But back over here, this is my CD burner. I got that used from a guy closing his recording studio down. Paid like $70 for it. Works great. Then back over here, I got the Atom audio monitors, and flip this up a little bit. There we go. Then I got these PreSonus, and I saw a review of these. They're like the most popular Amazon monitors, $100, and they'll kick. I mean, they're great. I don't know if they're on par with what are those other ones called? K something. They have like an orange ring in the middle. I don't like them, but I love the Atom Audios. You can tweak the back, add more presence, more bass, but I don't do that. I leave everything flat because I want to hear what the music's doing. I did buy a sub recently, but again, it's under there. I don't know if you can see it. I'm turn it upside down. Anyway, it's under there. It's a PreSonus sub. It works great, but you have to be careful because if you set your sub too much, then what's going to happen? You're not going to mix enough bass in. You put it in the car, you listen to it back, and it's like, where'd all my bottom end go? Sounded great in studio. Okay, so then here's, let me show you. Here is my pedal board. So we'll just go through this. I love orange amps. I just don't want to buy one. I use that. This is a modulator, so it's got the flange and chorus and tremolo and phase and vibrato and rotary, liquid, yada, yada, yada. So that's cool to use. And it's stereo, so you could do that. I really like this one. And I had that, I think it was called Mooer. And it had like 16 amp simulations, but that's the one that's so noisy I couldn't use it. So yeah, this one, I found it used, like $60 or something on Guitar Center's website. That's cool. This is one of my Chinese pedals, but it does have a nice Fender simulation. Oh yeah, well, TJ, you probably don't know what a Fender's supposed to sound like. There you go. There's my Fender. And here's my Supro. Love that little amp. And that's just a cool, like, 1 watt. I think it's like a 1 watt amp or 5 watt. But man, you just stick a 609 or a 906 in front of it, an SM57 in front, grab something on the backside. It's nice. It breaks up well. They said Keith Richards used to use a Fender Champ or some little 6-inch Fender amp. Yeah, that's all you need, Then this is the Rocket amp I bought back in '93, and it's one of maybe 500 that they've actually produced. And it's a Class A, all tube amp. You can tell I've put it through some stuff. I've got another mesh grill that I'm going to put on someday. The Roland V drums, and we got a shot down here.